I'm Max Sterling. Welcome to LARPgasm. Today I'm going to show you how to make an excellent Nuka World prop using some discount Christmas decorations. Stay tuned. So to make yourself this excellent Nuka World decoration, you'll need a couple of things. One, you're going to need to find yourself one of these Christmas decorations. It looks basically like a giant bottle cap on a stick. And from there, it's going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to make ourselves a stencil. We're going to paint this. We're going to do it up real nice, and then we're going to distress the hell out of it, and then we're going to turn it into something useful. I'm not just sure yet what that's going to be, but I think we can get pretty creative out here in the wasteland. So let's get started. So I'm using this as my example. It's an actual licensed item. So this will give me a concept to use on the larger scale. I'm just going to leave this on here until I'm done painting it. And I'm just using this cherry red paint. We're going to sand it down a little bit first so the paint adheres to it better. You might want to use like a degreaser or something on it, or clean it up however you want to. You could actually grind all that original paint off if you want to. Up to you. Just make sure it's nice and clean before you start spray painting it. Or not, if you want some texture in it. I mean, it is distressed, and here it is painted. So that's like 5 or 6 coats. I want to make sure it's nice and thick for the distressing portion. And if you're trying to make it look new, well, that's it. So we're going to go ahead and make the stencil now. So I just found, this example online, printed it out. Now I'm using an X-Acto knife to cut it out. You can do this in other ways, but to me, this works. I don't want it to look perfect because it's going to be distressed and it's supposed to look like it's very old. So this will give me the effect that I'm looking for. So once you have this painted red, you're basically all set to go. I took this little metal thing and just twisted it till it came off. You can hacksaw it off or grind it off, whatever you want to do, but I decided to just break it off that way. Gives it character, plus it's post-apocalyptic, so it's going to be distressed. As far as the color, it's a little bit darker than the actual Nuka Cola red, but I'm fine with that. I think that this is a pretty good match. And from sitting in the wasteland, it's going to get all distressed up anyways, so I'm not worried about it being a couple shades off. I did not paint the inside because I'm going to do something in there, so I just painted the outside. And the next step is to put our Nuka Cola logo on there. You do need to make sure that it is oriented correctly. Now, you can hold this up to the light and you'll be able to see through it, or you can press it down or you can cut it out, whatever you want to do. I'm actually just going to hold up to the light here to make sure that it's approximately centered. And actually, I think that looks really, really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort of like push down on the edges so we know where this sits on the cap. And of course, I've given the red paint, ample time to dry. And if you don't like the way I cut out my stencil here, you could do it the opposite way, where you paint the whole cap white first and then cut out the reverse of this stencil, so you're coming back and actually covering up the Nuka Cola in white and then painting everything else red. It's up to you. You cut these out in vinyl, stick them on, paint it, and then peel them off, which would probably be the better way to do this. But like I said, I'm doing it with what I have, so this is how it's gonna look. Good thing is, if this comes out and doesn't look that great, we're going to use this paint and it washes right off. So if we get this on here and it doesn't look just right the first time, we can always have a take 2. So go ahead and do this. Okay. That's why we push down on it. Now you could cut this out. Now you could cut this out and tape it down, however you want to do it. I'm just going to leave it on here like this. I think it's not going to move too much on me while I'm doing this, so I'm not terribly concerned. Using a foam brush here to do this time around. You could also use just a paintbrush or spray paint or whatever you want to do. If you're going to use spray paint, you need to make sure that this is all tacked down though, and it's not raised up at all, or else the spray paint will go under. If you do this, you can apply like straight downward pressure, and that stops the paint from bleeding out. Once it's all done, come back, touch it up. We'll come back and add the little marks inside the A's and the O and the L, and we can just do that by spraying some spray paint into the cap and using a small brush to fill it in. It's not perfect, but I don't think that it's too bad. Remember, this is going to get distressed, so it can look a little jacked up because we're going to come back and do some other stuff to it. So don't get too excited if it doesn't look perfect. Alright, so we touched up a little bit with the red. Now what we can do is any place where we may have leaked over with the red, we can come back and touch up with the white again. And you can play with this until you get it perfect, whatever you want to do. You could also use a marker to outline it if you have the correct color. Whatever you want to do. But because we're basically just going to distress the hell out of this in a second here, I'm not going to worry about being too great. Because things will get distressed, covered in other stuff, and all messed up. So it just needs to basically be what it is. And you can tell from this, it's a giant Nuka Cola lid. So that is achieved. And that's that part of it. Nuka Cola. So we're gonna let that dry. We got a sanding block, rub and buff, markers, some other random stuff to beat on it with. It looks pretty nice, but it's going to be time to distress it pretty soon. But we'll let it dry and stuff. We're not going to clear it first. We're going to distress it first, then we'll clear it at the very end, and then do a little bit of minor distressing. And that way it'll be sealed in, continue looking good, and I'll show you, what type of stuff you can do with this. So now it's time to distress this. So we got it looking fairly good. And to distress it will be real simple. Now if you spray painted a base coat of like a flat black under this, or if you sanded off the original image, you're probably good to go. If you didn't, then you need to be careful you don't get too far down, or if you do go far down, you're going to have to go the whole way through the original image as well to get down to the base metal. So first things first, something like this around the edges is definitely going to be worn down, so we want to start there. And you can use a sanding block or sandpaper or whatever you want to do, but we want to basically scuff that up. The whole thing should probably be scuffed all the way around. This thing has been rolling around and blowing around the wasteland, so let's not even kid ourselves. Those edges would be roughed up. Also, all of these little high points, so you can see sort of the age and the distressing we're already starting to get on it. Now the part that's going to hurt me the most is going right over top of this, which we took all that time to do. And then from there we can kind of pick and choose little areas to really hit up harder. And you can try to stay away from your words if you want to, or you can dig right into them. You know, it's up to you. If you happen to have something stab worthy. And if you wanted to, you could really punch it and punch an actual hole into it. Like I said, it all depends on how far you're trying to take it. The final stage is, of course, going to be a little bit of rub and buff. Alright, so once you have this distressed and you think it's looking good, we're going to want to put some sort of clear on it. This is basically what you have. And I'm going to go ahead and just use this shellac on here instead of a regular clear coat. And here's our finished product. Now, as you can see, we went ahead and did some distressing on here, and then I hit it with the shellac. I like this shellac because it dries with like a light brown or like a sort of like a light golden color, so anything white, it really adds a little bit extra age to. Now, this is obviously very shiny. If you don't want it to be shiny, you can use a matte or a flat, but I want it to be shiny. If you're making it so it's supposed to look brand new, then you would obviously want it to be shiny and give it sort of that 50s kind of clear look. We did the edges and I did leave the back alone, but that is what we got. Now you may say, Max, that's great. That looks really cool. You know, I'm a fan of Fallout, but you know, what the fuck is this? It's a giant bottle cap. Well, like I said, that's our Nuka World souvenir. So what you can do with this is pretty much anything you want. If you wear big armor like football pads or power armor or something, you can put some straps on it and make it a Bessigoo or something. You know, you can cover your shoulders. If you want to make two of them, you can make it and make a bikini top or cover your breast with it. You could also add strap to it, make it a rondel for on your hand to protect your hand when you're in combat, or you could even make a second one and have two of them. You could take this and you could attach it to the top of a hat and make it like a baseball cap protector, or even make it a little hat itself. You could make it a cod piece. Really, the possibilities are endless. You could just hang it on your wall. You could drill a hole through the center, and you could put a little clock on it, turn it into a small clock. So really, it's up to you. You can do whatever you want to with it. There's just, you know, a lot of things you can do. You could even just use this little frisbee or a coaster or anything. Like I said, the imagination is your only limit. So I made this specifically to actually add to my armor. So I'm actually going to add it right here, and it's just going to hang on my sword / gun arm, and then I have a shield in the other hand. So this is going to help to cover a gap that is in my armor right here and hang there. So that's what I'm using it for. But like I said, you can do whatever you want to with it. I hope that you enjoyed this build. I sure did. And I think it's simple enough that anyone can do. You just got to find these big bottle caps. Best time is right after Christmas. They have a lot of stuff on sale. Some of it's like this. However, arts and crafts stores, you might be able to find some sort of giant bottle cap like this any time of year, but you have to look around. Obviously on the internet you can find it. But if you enjoyed this build, please click like and subscribe to my channel. Be sure to let everybody that you know about my channel, because I want to spread the word, and hopefully people that LARP enjoy these type of videos. And be sure to comment any comments that you may have, and as always, adventure on.